Welcome back to the Tree Services podcast. So today I've got a really special episode because I've got Martin Evans all the way from Canada. He is British born. He runs Vancouver Island Tree Services, and employs over 100 people in Canada. Welcome to the podcast, Martin.
Hey, thanks for having me, Henri.
So it's very early there right now, right?
Yeah, it's just 5 a.m.
5 a.m. and it's 1 p.m. here. So we've got you right at the beginning of the day. So energy is fresh. So tell me a little bit about your life before you moved to Canada and getting in the arb industry and how you got into the arb industry to start off with.
Yeah, I kind of fell into it by mistake. Left school back in 91. I went to Morton Agricultural College and did a woodland and estate maintenance course. I wanted to be a gamekeeper, but it was various estate roles kind of thing, what it was training for. It was a pretty good course. And yeah, I kind of went down the gamekeeper role. One of my good friends, Lincoln, who was on the course with me, he wanted to be an arborist, or a tree surgeon. I didn't even know what a tree surgeon was at that time, but we just kind of hung out together in that, and did the gamekeeping bit, then couldn't get a job doing that, so I went to work on an estate with Lincoln. I was doing hand falling, so I went through my MPTCs, got into that, and then kind of got dragged into the forestry side of it. Then as things went on, I started to learn to do the arborist thing with my mate Lincoln. The estate put him through his climbing course.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so it was probably after about early 20s, we just went into the woods with some ropes and harnesses. He taught me how to climb. Then I fell into the contracting world, started doing some railway work and private estate work, doing roadside trees and the stately home gardens and things like that, and picked up the climbing, got pretty good at it, then started employing people, got up to about I think 11 employees when I was back in the UK. Started to buy in some machinery, had a whole tree of Valmet crane fed chipper, things like that.
Nice.
That was kind of the demise of my UK tree service. That kept on breaking, and it was costing me. So the previous 10 years that I'd built up behind me had all the money got eaten up, and it was got to a breaking point. It was around about 2008. It's like, do I keep throwing money at this machine, or do I do something else? And
2008 was a tricky year anyway, because that's when Northern Rock crashed and there was all the crisis going on with the bankers and all that kind of stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I kind of diversified. I had my business, and I had a cruise on utility line clearing, some cruise on railway clearing. I did the estate work and a bit of forestry stuff. But then the courses and everything involved in the line clearing was getting really expensive to put people on. So I moved away from that and went into the railway.
Yeah.
And then they had the Olympics come up, and we just got a phone call one day saying we're not spending any more money on maintenance. It's going to go to a big hazard tree contract. We're going to put that out, and there's going to be no work for the next 2 or 3 years. So
yeah.
The company I was contracting to, they won the hazard tree contract. So they offered to take me on as a manager and then all my staff as well. So I did that, sold my gear, but then working for somebody didn't really work out for me.
Yeah, once you've been working on your own, you're almost unemployable after that, aren't you?
Yeah. So after a bit, I quit that, went back contract climbing with my friend, and then I was looking at moving away. So I was kind of either looking at New Zealand, France, or Canada. I had a couple of opportunities in France and New Zealand, but just weren't going to work out. I got a wife and 4 kids, so it's a big move. And then I came to visit a friend in Canada, got some job interviews lined up, and then I was offered a job by a company called Davy Tree, which is a big company out of here. They sponsor.
Yeah, I've heard of those guys. They're big, aren't they? Really big company.
Yeah, they're huge.
So you say they employ 10,000 people, is that right?
At least, yeah, all across North America.
Wow, that's huge. Yeah, really huge. Yeah, nice. So what was the driver to go abroad? What was really pushing you to want to just try something different? Because it's obviously having a family and 4 kids, it's a big leap, isn't it? Big leap of faith.
Yeah, it was circumstance, I think. My kids were around about the age that if we didn't do it now, we'd never do it. With that company giving me the job and taking on my employees, it was like it's the first time in 10 years that I'd not had any employees, and employees are a bit like children. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
You can't just move on and leave them. You have to so they were all gone. They were working for that other company, and just had the opportunity. And I thought, if I don't do it now, I'm not going to.
Yeah. Yeah, you got nothing to lose at that point because you say everyone's. I get that completely. When we had problems with business 5 years ago and we had to lay people off, it was like, well, I mean, everyone was in tears. Some of the guys, we were like a family.
Yeah,
Exactly that. Like,
yeah,
um,
you get close.
you know, you live and breathe with these people, and you know, if you're a good boss like you and myself, then you know, you generally care about their futures as well. So yes, so the opportunity arose, and it sounds like the perfect opportunity. So, what was it like going to Canada and being somewhere different? Had you ever done tree work abroad before, or was that your first experience of going abroad?
Now, my first experience of doing tree work abroad, it was eye-opening. You come, like, I came to Canada, the trees here are huge, and they're in the urban interface. They're you get like 180-foot fir tree in someone's backyard right over the
Wow.
house. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. Yeah, so I started with Davy tree, and it quickly became clear that in BC, in particular, they're like 15 years behind the UK in technology and climbing skill. Like, there's some skillful guys there, but they were all still climbing on a closed system, three-strand ropes, and it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
wow. And
yeah.
yeah, my first day there, I was like, said to one of the foremen I was working with, I was like, "Who's your best guy here?" He's like, "Well, I guess you are." I was like, "Oh shit!" I was expecting to come to like a tree climbing mecca where the guys were really good and
Yeah, yeah,
give me
yeah.
something to step up to, but no, it didn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
big.
that's really interesting because you would have thought that it'd be the other way around. Big trees means, you know, all the latest kicks. I certainly know when I worked in London at City Suburban, I met a lot of the Aussies and Kiwis, and they were coming over with a lot of innovation. They were coming over a lot more like we were still climbing on Prussics, and they were coming over with all sorts of hitch climbers. And this was going back like 20 odd plus years ago. And I kind of would have thought it'd be the same for Canada, but I guess that, you know, some places are behind as well. So all the pressure was on you for one of their experienced guys then.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like even SRT has only just kind of been starting to come around the last 5 years, it seems. I I learned that back in mid 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. Yeah, so the big kit here, the guys work hard. It's a different kind of a mentality. I noticed straight away it's kind of they use the guys a bit more like a tool. You know what I mean? Christmas time comes and it goes quiet. It's like, okay, we're just going to lay everybody off, and that was regular. It was like normal.
Wow.
I was like, I've never in my entire life laid somebody off. And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
came to here, it came to Christmas time, and a week before Christmas, it was slowing down, and like quarter of the crew or 30% of the crew get laid off for
Wow.
2 months. I'm like, oh shit, yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's because usually, well, in the UK, we're just like no one wants to lay anyone off because we're so short, short of team members that you know everyone's just trying to claw on to keep their guys or find new people. So yeah, that is a different way of thinking.
yeah. So that went like that so I started here, and then initially I was doing okay, got on with the manager, and then turns out didn't get on with the manager so well. So I took a transfer because I was initially in Vancouver. So I transferred to Vancouver Island, still with Davy Tree because I was tied to them with my visa. But I had a 4 year plan, I guess it was. So my plan was that I'll come work for this company, give them 4 years. If I'm not a manager within 4 years' time, then I'll move on. It kind of started to get towards the 4 year mark. And then there was a change around in the upper management, and the new guys that came in were not that employee friendly. And I just decided to myself that I didn't want to work for like for that management structure because they were just shit, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did get kind of offered the manager's position, but it was like the manager I was working for, who pretty much gave his life to the company, and then was getting pushed out because the new management didn't like him.
Which is hard when you know someone's coming and changing and seeing that on a personal level, seeing somebody give their life and then it just changes, which doesn't really give you any trust into the future, does it really? Especially, you know, company culture's everything, isn't it really? And if that's then sort of been feels like people have been shat on, you kind of lose that trust in them, don't you?
Yeah, well, exactly. They were like, trying to push this guy out. I didn't agree with it. And this guy worked hard. He's currently my business partner now. But
Amazing.
yeah, so I quit that company and I went heli logging for a bit. So I did for about 10 months, went heli logging in the bush.
And how was that?
Dangerous, really dangerous. It's fun, but the novelty of going to work in a helicopter every day wears off pretty quick. I've got a wife and 4 kids, and it kind of, after a while, I was doing a 2 week on, 1 week off shift, and every shift I did, there was somebody who was having to get flown to hospital for one thing
Wow.
or the other. Yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess like the people always talk, and you see it over here on a feed somewhere, and people go, heli logging's going to be like it's the mecca of tree climbing. I'd love to do that, but then it sounds glamorous, but I guess there's more to the margins are tighter in the sense of if something goes wrong, it's going to be something pretty bad, right?
Yeah, so it's the remoteness of it, like where you're working, you're 10 to 15 minute helicopter trip away to where the camp is or the barge, and then when you get to the barge, so if you have to get medevaced out, they need to fly people into where you're injured. It takes 6 or 8 guys to get somebody out. Then they have to pack them up, long line them usually to the camp. It might take an hour or so, and then they have to fly them to the nearest town. Might be another hour and a half. So you're probably 4 hours away. So if you hurt yourself, you're 4 hours away from the hospital. But the golden hour is the important part. So so it's pretty bad. And then so I was doing that. I was off on shift, and my old manager phoned me up because when I left, I said, if you ever want to start a business, give us a shout. And he phoned me up, says, do you fancy giving it a go? I was like, yeah, okay. So I did another 2-week shift and then started this.
Nice. And how long ago was that?
10 years. So
10 years.
10 years last July.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So before we get into the starting of the business, I'm just interested in the comparisons between the UK and Canada in things like one of the biggest challenges I think we've got over here is the wages just aren't going up in comparison to other trades and the rate of inflation and things like that. What was the difference in pay? Is it a well-paid job in Canada doing trees, or how does it compare?
I'm not sure what the pay rate at the minute is. Like for a decent climber over here at the minute, it's around about $40 an hour, which would be about £25-30 an hour.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
And that's employed. You get medical, dental. The holiday you only get 2 weeks. They're not very good on holidays over here. It's 2 weeks off a year plus your bank holidays, but it's not bad. I'd say it's. We've got some of our utility guys who work away a lot, and they're making probably $120,000 to $150,000 a year, so £90,000 a year.
Wow! So good money, really good money.
Yeah. When I was doing the heli logging, they earn $900 a day for 6.5 hour day, and they earn really good money. They're self-employed, but
yeah, nice, but good money. Is it similar to over here? Where do you find that there's a labour shortage, or is it easy or difficult to find guys?
Difficult. Yeah, same as the UK. I think there's a labour shortage. You can find grounded pretty easy, but somebody who's a decent climber.
Why do you think that is?
There's no training over here. There's I went over last year. I went back to the UK for a month and got qualified to be a Lantra trainer for the arborist skills. So went with a guy called Stephen Hales up in Dumfries, I think it was.
Yeah. Nice.
So I trying to bring the qualifications over here and now get them established.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, good. Yeah, so training from the ground up, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the UK's got a really good training system with MPTC and Lantra compared to here.
Yeah. Cool. So then you've started with your business partner. What was his name again?
Troy.
Troy. So you started from scratch. Had he done anything up to that point, or is it a fresh business, both of you in?
Fresh business, yeah. I just sold my house back in the UK, so I had a bit of money to put in. So we both put in the same amount of money, went 50-50 partners. I'd run a business before. He'd just been a manager, but his dad was the VP for Davy for Canada. His dad sold his own business like 20 years previous or 30 years previous to Davy. So he had a bit of experience managing. But
nice. And obviously you'd worked together before, so you kind of knew that you'd work together well.
Yeah.
And so what was the idea? What was your goal? What was your plan 10 years ago? Have you exceeded your plan? What were you thinking?
Exceeded the plan? I'm not sure. I think we're still on plan. The goal was initially just to get, big enough to be sustaining 2 of us not on the tools initially, because Troy was the sales guy, so we managed in the area for 20 plus years, so we had lots of contacts and stuff, and I was the tree guy. So we bought a bucket truck and a chipper. We ran that. Within a couple of months, 2 or 3 months, we bought another one, then hired somebody, and we just kind of built from there. It was probably every 3 to 6 months we was getting another truck.
Nice. So some pretty rapid growth then.
Yeah. There has been lots of rapid growth. I think we like our worst year of growth grown by about 35%.
Yeah.
Which
Wow.
was 170% some years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Really good. So, knowing what you know now, 10 years on, what would you do anything differently if you started a game 10 years ago?
Would I do anything differently? I don't think so. Maybe try to buy new equipment rather than used to start with, but I think
Yeah.
buying the used stuff, it got us off the ground.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the kit you've got over there, because I know looking at the American and Canada guys and seeing all the big lorries and things like that and the big bucket trucks. Do you have, like, obviously in the UK we've got the issue with everyone needs to have, if you've got 3.5 ton tipper, you can drive that. Anything above that, everyone's got to have lorry licenses. Is there a bar to entry like that? Do you the bigger trucks, do you have to have licenses for? How do you find that?
Yeah, so it's kind of like the UK 17-ton truck is basically what our bucket trucks are, and you need a regular driving license, and you do an air brake endorsement, which is a weekend course where you just go and see how an air brake system works. You don't even have to do any driving or anything; you just have to know how to check your brakes, basically. So yeah, there's not really an issue there for the big trucks. It's pretty crazy. You can just
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, it's just something that was always talked about in the UK, with everyone just being overloaded in a transit van, and people trying to work out ways around it. And obviously, we've got all the unimogs, people buying unimogs and tractors to try and run stuff on ag and all that kind of stuff. So I've always just been intrigued when I see videos in America, especially, I think it's Davey or one of the other ones, and I've seen like these whole convoys of just like truck after truck after truck going down the highways. And I've always wondered like the bar to entry, and I guess it's very low over there, which is a good opportunity to be able to then do more with your trucks, because you've got more capacity, bigger chippers and everything like that.
Yeah. To tow, I think anything over 7,000 kilos, you need to have a heavy trailer endorsement, and that's just like it's a bit like your trailer ticket back in the UK when they used to have that.
Yeah, ideal. And so what have you found the biggest challenges since starting the business?
Cash flow for us. I guess that's for every business. With our growth, you get your increased receivables month on month, and your increased bills and increased wages, and then it's just you have to get that little bit of profit that you get just to float that all the time. So yeah, I think it's the same for every company is cash flow.
Yeah, it is for us. I was just chatting to my wife before this, because we're tracing down money for the next couple of weeks, and it's just trying to, the delay tactics are usual, where, can you put this PO number on? Can you put this address on? Can it be build here? And it happens a lot, doesn't it? It's the biggest thing, without any cash, the business can't run. So yeah, I get that completely. So over the time, where did you predominantly start with? Was it doing domestic work? Were you straight in with trying to win contracts? How did it all start to grow? Because you've gone from, you and Troy to over 120 people. So it's a hell of a growth journey over 10 years. It's a great achievement. So how did it all start, and what was the plan?
It started with, we were just doing residential, and then started to pick up some municipal contracts, and then it was probably a year or so I've got a bit of a utility background. I got my utility ticket over here, which I challenged, and then we got into subcontracting to another tree company who was doing some utility work. Then we got on to the main utility company, and that's where the biggest growth has been. So now we currently do BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Northwest Territories, and the Yukon. So we're spread out. Our area is probably bigger than Europe. I would have thought it's pretty big, but that's where the main growth is utilities.
Yeah, it's kind of where I grew quite a lot, and I think a lot of companies do in the UK for utilities or rail track, like you did back in your original firm, is because there's just a constant flow of work all day, every day, pretty much, isn't there? The trees are always growing.
Yeah, we just picked up a 7-year contract, which is kind of a 9-figure over the 7 years. It's a 9-figure contract, which is huge for us. We just started that January 1st. So that's going to be a concentration for the next few years.
Nice. That'll definitely keep you busy.
Yeah.
Good. So what sort of advice would you give either your younger self or people starting out in the arb industry, either in Canada or in the UK?
Advice would I give myself? Just keep doing what you're doing, I think. I've not really made many big errors. I'd say put people in roles that specialise in that, like, you have your finance department and give that them. Don't try and do it yourself. Don't try and get your wife to do it, because we've had things in the past where we've not had a qualified person, and once you start to get into big numbers, you can make one tiny mistake, which can be a huge issue down the road. if you miscalculate some tax and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, numbers is key, isn't it? Really, numbers and finance is a huge one because, as you say, we've had a bad account in the past, and the new accountant came in 2 years ago and found that we were owed 30 grand of VAT for CIS. Sorry, not VAT, 30 grand of CIS that was just sat there in HMRC, and that's 30 grand that's in HMRC's pocket that's not in mine. So, yeah, I agree on that one.
yeah. We just had a similar situation with our finance. We had a CFO and a controller, and they were both certified accountants, which we paid lots of money for, and they were employees. But we just found out for the last 3 years they weren't doing a very good job of the accounts, and they were kind of just winging it. And so we've spent the last 3 months. I fired them just before Christmas, and we've brought a KPMG in, which is a finance company, to clear up the mess. But
Untangle it all.
yeah. So if we were in a worse situation, that could have been like catastrophic for a business. We've survived it.
Good. Yeah, and it's all a learning curve all the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you have the same sort of challenges in Canada with, I think one of the biggest challenges we have in the UK is there's a lot of one-man bands who price down. There's a lot of also large companies who go and win contracts at very low rates and then subcontract it out to the smaller companies. So we've constantly got this kind of race to the bottom. Do you have similar challenges like that in Canada?
Yeah, 100%. So it seems since we've started our company, I'd like to promote training and moving people on. So we've trained a lot of people who have gone off and started their own business. So I think when we started, there was maybe 5 tree services in town, and now there's probably 30. One-man bands. You see them coming and going, but they can work for cheap and not have the insurance and things. And then we recently had a big tree company from the States that moved into Western Canada. Their goal was to, increase their market share at all costs. The contract that we just won in Saskatchewan was basically off the back of them. They came in and bought the contract, then couldn't service the contract, and then they brought us the power company brought us in to kind of fill the gap, and then we just did a really good job, and basically they gave us the majority of the work for the province.
Yeah. I laughed at that because I see that, and we've experienced that so many times in the UK where we price a contract, don't win it. They get someone in, like there's big companies that are very similar that want to broaden their market share. They go and buy the contract, and then they either do a terrible job at it or can't deliver, and then you kind of get asked to come in and save the day. And it happens so much where that happens, and quite often those bigger companies are just trying to they subcontract a lot of it out. And it ends up being the smaller company that gets the crap rates. So yeah, that's it's good when it happens, when you get the opportunity back though, and you can go and do a good job. So yeah, fair play, well done, really good.
Yeah, that worked really well in our favour in BC. They had a 5-year contract that came out, probably it was 5 years ago because it's just coming up for renewal. We made a mistake with our bidding, and we went in way too high. So we did have the biggest area in BC, and then when the new contract out, they gave us the smallest area in BC. So we had lots of capacity, but not really much work. But it turned out that everybody else who'd won the work low rates couldn't service their contracts. So then they came back to us and says, "Oh, do you want this area? Do you want that area?" And it was all at our really highly inflated rates. Work at. And then the contractors, we were moving into their areas, taking up their slack, and they couldn't afford to buy any more equipment, to pay any more wages, to buy any used contractors because they didn't have the money there. Whereas we came in, we had the money for the contractors, for more equipment, for to pay better wages. So we just came in and kind of just dominated their areas, and took huge market share out of their areas, and we just did nothing but good out of it.
Good. Yeah. Well, it just shows that pricing the right money, it works, doesn't it? It might not work in the short term when you don't win something, but when you can then have the right money and then deliver the kit, the guys, the quality, because that's ultimately, first of all, most procurement teams, they just go for the cheapest. And then after that, the managers delivering it want the quality, don't they? And there's always seems to be this battle between the delivery people and procurement, because procurement always goes cheapest, but as we know, cheapest isn't always best.
Yeah, you can I've noticed the procurement's kind of evolving over the last 5 years, where it was all on price, lowest price gets it, but now it seems to be it's more on safety and quality and systems and procedures, where the reward is, and then the price isn't really a factor. It seems like that's how it's going.
Yeah, which is the way it should be.
Yeah,
It should be pay for the quality, pay for the safety, pay for a decent firm to do a good job, and make a decent margin. Not fleecing, but a decent margin that everyone's happy with, and create those win-win situations.
yeah.
So, what's it like for people coming across? If people listen to this podcast in the UK and they think I'd like to come across and do some climbing in Canada, how feasible is that? And do you take people on from other places?
Yeah, we've got guys from all over. Got French, lots of guys from the UK, got some Germans. It's pretty easy if you're below 35, I think, the age. You can get like a Canadian experience, like a working holiday visa for 2 years, and then if you like it, then you can apply for permanent residency. Like, we encourage any guys, if they want a job, email service@vitree.ca. Yeah, we'll take on anybody. Doesn't matter skill level. It's just a great experience. Like, the quality of life here is absolutely amazing. I'd say that's the big draw for me. There's so much to do if you like to get out in the countryside, mountain biking, hiking, running. Like, it's ridiculous how much stuff there is to do. There's not enough days in the week for me to do out of work activities.
Yeah. I mean, it's somewhere we've always wanted to go. It always looks beautiful in all the pictures and everything I ever see. So a massive draw. So if people wanted to go and try climbing out, they could just get a 2-year visa and then come over on like a holiday visa and then see how it goes from there.
Yeah. And there's different terrains and whatever. Like, the diversity over here is crazy. Like, we've got guys in Saskatchewan. It's pretty flat there and really cold in the winter, like minus 40 in the winter. It gets down, and then it goes plus 40 in the summertime. Yeah, the coast's a bit more moderate climate. We've got snow at the minute. Actually, we didn't really get much snow. But,
so when they're going down to minus 40, what's that like to work in? Do the guys still go out? Do you work in all weathers over there, or is there a time that it sort of goes into hibernation?
We work all weathers. Once it's kind of minus 32, minus 33, then we give the guys the option. They can stay in the hotel, but you don't get paid if you sit in the hotel all day.
Nice.
Guys who go out at minus 50, they'll still go out and work, which you have to be prepared for it. You can't get a lot done. Chainsaws don't work very well. Bucket trucks get really slow with the hydraulics and everything. Yeah, it's a challenge when it gets really cold.
But it still continues. The show must go on. Yeah. Great. It's been really great chatting to you today, Martin. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
I'd say on the business side of things, like, there's lots of guys out there who think owning their own business is, the way to go, the way forward. Just do your research, do your homework before you go into business. It's not always what it's cracked up to be. It is rewarding, can be rewarding, but you need to get all your policies and procedures in place and systems, and it's not for everybody. If you're a tree guy, usually you're a manual person who likes climbing trees and, doing the hard work, but running a business is a lot more boring. It can be interesting, but to do it well, you need to be a bit more focused on the paperwork side of things.
Yeah, and it's getting I was talking about this yesterday, and it's getting the basics right. And the basics, actually, the day-to-day of running a business isn't that exciting. It's being consistent, as you say, with the paperwork, the systems and processes, and it's not as as exciting as people think. And we had this conversation in a group in a mastermind session yesterday, and I think most people agreed that if we knew what we knew now about running a business, we might not have ever started, because you're quite naive when you first start running a business. You think you're going to be able to have this business. It's going to be really exciting. You're going to be able to take loads of time off, but it's hard work, isn't it? It's constant relentlessness.
Yeah, it is. I think when I started, I kind of fell into it. I'm kind of a bit, would there be ADHD or OCD? I just get really focused on things. So when I started my business, I really when I had my business in the UK, I went for the ISO 9001, which was not really a thing that Tree Services did, but one of the best things I did, because it learned me about systems and processes. And when I started this business here, it enabled us to grow a lot faster, because we got everything in place, and you constantly evolving the business and adding to it. So I think that was a huge thing.
Yeah, no, it definitely is that doing those kind of that the ISO, all of them are really really beneficial to any business, aren't they? So I think you're right. Yeah, it is just doing the day to day and sort of on repeat every single day. It's not for everybody, but I think a lot of people fall into it in the UK because they kind of work for somebody and they're earning 35 grand a year, and the cost of living goes through. We get lots of accidental business owners who just think I just need to earn more
Yeah.
than what I'm currently earning for somebody else, but in reality, they end up having less money and less time, and it just becomes a bit of a hamster wheel, and they get stuck on the tools every single day trying to churn it out. So yeah, great advice there, Martin.
Yeah, yeah. I think the single guy contractor thing, which is kind of a UK thing, which I think is a good thing. If you want to stay on the tools and earn decent money, be a contractor. But if you want to grow, be smart with it, and you have to make a leap. Usually, it's like if you're going to be you and a guy, which is okay. But if you're going to start getting bigger, you need to jump to like 6 guys just to cover all the administration and stuff. So be
Yeah,
prepared for that because you get guys who get 3 or 4 guys working for them, and then they're really busy, and you don't really get any quality of life.
yeah. So you think like the administration part of it, that's key, isn't it? Being able to afford somebody, an office manager or an administrator is key, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's what we teach all the time is your administrator is one of your key people because they're going to keep you doing what you need to be doing, winning the work and meeting people and away from sitting in front of a computer all day long.
yeah. One of the best ways to grow a business is have a full-time sales guy. Like over here, we've had a full-time sales guy pretty much from the start, and it enables you to not have to worry about getting in the work, and it's just doing the work, which has been like great for us.
Yeah, I agree. Sales is like the lifeblood of a business, isn't it? People that can't just rely on the next door neighbor telling the next door neighbor. It's got to be someone's got to be driving the business forward, and quite often that's the business owner or employing a salesperson. So yeah, I agree on that one. Cool, amazing. Thanks so much for coming on today, Martin. If people want to get hold of you, where's the best place to follow you online? Where do you spend most amount of time, and what's the best way to contact you if people want to come over and try some Canada trees out?
Yeah, so if somebody wanted to come out and work, you can email me. It's martin.evans@vitree.ca, or we've got a website, go onto there, vitree.ca. I don't really do too much social media, a bit of Facebook.
Yeah.
So if you can get on there and email me, or we've got ViTree page.
Perfect. Perfect. Legend. And I think eventually I like to do a little trip over to Canada. So when I come over, I'll be in touch and come and see what you do.
Yeah, more than welcome to come over and see us.
Cool. Amazing. Thanks so much. Right. Thanks, guys, for everyone listening on the podcast. If you want to get in touch with Martin, I'll put his details in the description here and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care, all. Cheers, Martin.
Okay, thank you.